Chapter 3, Karma Yoga. About this chapter. In this chapter, Arjuna is confused since Krishna seemed to indicate previously that man is under illusion about his truth, higher self, and that this knowledge overcomes ignorance. Yet then he had proceeded to tell Arjuna that he needs to fight on the battlefield because of his dharma as a warrior. So Krishna explains that in life there are two paths that people can take in this world. The contemplative sorts are drawn to the path of knowledge, and the action-oriented are inclined to the path of service. He mentions that no one can really be stationary and all are moving, some mentally and some physically. He also clarifies that each person is moved towards their action by their inherent tendencies, consciously or unconsciously. He further clarifies that the person who outwardly controls their senses while internally lost in sense enjoyments is deluded and a pretender, a hypocrite, while those who inwardly control the senses while acting without attachment to the results are on the right path. To control the senses has already been discussed in the previous chapter, since that is what is linked with the experience of duality, likes, dislikes, or pleasure and pain. Karma means action, work, or deed. Karma occurs through thought, word, and action. In this chapter, Krishna is mentioning that action is better than inaction. Activity is fundamental to the higher self, and it needs activity in a human form even for basic survival through even eating, sleeping, and exercising to maintain life. The nature of the higher self or soul is to give to others and ultimately to the God or higher consciousness. Work that seeks to take from others or control them creates conflict and unhappiness in the higher self, while work done in the spirit of service brings satisfaction, knowledge, and contentment. For spiritual evolution, right knowledge and right action work together. As the higher self, from a spiritual perspective, each person is already perfect. Due to our ignorance of this spiritual experience, our intellect entertains endless desires, each being our own intellect's attempt to fulfill itself. This is from Chinmayananda's commentary in the Gita from page 197. In each moment, our thoughts are directly controlled by our personal desires. When thoughts express or manifest into the world, they become actions. In this chapter, the three gunas are described, the essential properties of someone or something, which influence everything. In terms of action, these are unactivity, which is known as sattva, activity, which is rajas, and inactivity, which is tamas. Each person has varying amounts of each, and these can be consciously modified too. Since most are lost in either rajas or tamas qualities, they oscillate from overactivity to laziness, each time to achieve a personal desire. A person may need to become more rajas to start a new business, to take the active participation needed for creation. A strongly rajasic personality will find it not easy to settle the mind for contemplation or meditation. Arjuna is on a battlefield, so it makes sense that his rajasic temperament is necessary to take action in battle at this time. Each person needs the tamasic energy to settle the mind to sleep comfortably. A person may have so many anxieties during the time of action, as in Arjuna's case, that they cannot think clearly for decision making. Or a person may sleep for many hours from a tamasic personality that may also take over a person experiencing prolonged grief or depression. For either tendency, it is important and useful to understand the reasons behind action or inaction. This is working from a place of knowledge or understanding. Any activity done from a place away from this creates, karmically, more vasanas. There would be more desires from the lower impulses rather than a conscious action from the higher consciousness working through the self. Action coming from such knowledge or understanding is defined as any self-sacrificing work, undertaken in a spirit of dedication for the benefit of all. Such an action is not self-degrading and rather self-liberating. In Sanskrit, this is termed yajna. In social, communal, national, or personal activity where an individual pours themselves entirely into in a spirit of service and dedication. This is truly the both feet in experience rather than touching the experience superficially. Here, it is important for us to understand that Krishna is aware of Arjuna's thoughts about this battle. He is scared to take action. He's worried about his reputation both before the battle and after too. He wants to be a hero that is compassionate enough to avoid fighting, to save both sides from the consequences, and he's looking at all angles as to why he should not fight, such as questioning, though rightfully, why, if knowledge is most important, he needs to fight. Krishna in this chapter is helping him understand the human mind and the human life experience. Much is explained in this chapter about the reasons for taking right action for the higher self and the harmony of the energies in the world. Right action, again, is not just for one selfish individual, but for the greater good of many. In this chapter, Krishna also reveals to Arjuna that he is already a liberated soul, acting diligently without attachment as a model for this generation to rise up against its vanities under which it's currently living. He shares with Arjuna that his own role is like Arjuna's in protecting the masses, and that Arjuna can also stand as a similar example. He mentions that ignorant men act from attachment to action, and wise men act for the welfare of the world. He also explains that the human mind seeks to attach to something, so actions driven by the senses, through body, mind, or intellect, are easiest. If there is a detachment from this experience, the mind will need something else to attach to, or it is deluding itself as to its true nature. Thus, the attachment to a higher purpose or cause is suggested. As his own actions will be followed by those who look up to him, he reminds Arjuna that this is the higher goal for his existence. He explains to Arjuna that impulsive actions of renunciation are not what is called for, but a thoughtful consideration of the benefit that can come from his own ethical decision-making in this time. In the generation of the time of this battle, honor is attached with fighting for the right cause. Thus, Arjuna's participation in the battle can serve as an example to current and future generations. Pulling out of the battle would be cowardly for him, and fighting for self-gain would be based on actions not in alignment with the higher self. Fighting on the battlefield from a place of his higher self, which has no attachment to the outcome, but full awareness of the intention behind the action, would be the right action. The renunciation of all actions to the Lord or higher consciousness only means to give up the actions which are fueled by wrong motives. In this chapter, Krishna discusses the idea of acting without hope and without ego. Hope is the anticipation of a result in the future, and ego is connected to the experiences of the past. Beautifully written in Swami Chinmayananda's commentary, where he says, quote, "If hope is the child of the unborn future, ego is the lingering memory of a dead past." End quote. Here Krishna is teaching Arjuna the power of the present moment. He also explains how his current anxiety over making the right decision in his action is associated with his thoughts of past and future, which prevents full participation in present activities or actions. Krishna also shares in this chapter that to share all of these details with those without full faith in the teaching or the teacher is of no use, as they are not ready to hear the details or believe in the value of the words. Some will hear or read them and not understand, and others will question endlessly as they play with the ideas in their minds. Yet the only way to experience such truth is to live the experience. The Gita's teachings are meant to be questioned until a student understands fully by trying and testing the information to experience it for themselves. As we know, Arjuna is making a huge decision that will shape many in this time, and does not have the time to consider from all angles in his decision. This is a moment that is truly testing his own faith, and lucky for him, he fully trusts his teacher and friend Krishna. Here, Krishna mentions that desire-less activities allow for vasana purgation, to create clear minds capable of meditative insight. As this is happening, a person is able to take pure divine action, which has long-lasting benefits. In this chapter, Krishna mentions that even very learned people will still act according to their own inherent natures. This is the same as saying that each person acts from their own level of consciousness. And he warns people to not come under the sway of their own mental patterns that are strongly rooted in the ideas of duality, which make them believe one action is good and another is bad. Arjuna finally asks, why would anyone not do the right thing if the higher self always knows what the right action is? Krishna explains that each person's higher self always knows the right action indeed. Intellectually, the mind understands, but often the action is not taken because desire is the enemy within each of us. The senses, the mind, and the intellect are described to be the seat of desire. The ego, identifying with the body, enjoys sense experiences. Through the mind, it seeks emotional satisfactions. And through the intellect, it plans to relive the remembered experiences of the senses and mental joys. How a person can work from a different space that is beyond all of these experiences is by understanding the wisdom behind it all, which is referred to as the Atman, which is the higher self. Here, a simple teaching of meditation is also offered to move beyond the experience of desires leading to actions to act from a place of higher consciousness. Through knowledge, ignorance of the self is ended, and through living consciously from the higher self, can this knowledge be lived in any moment. In this chapter, the understanding of connection or union, your yoga, is shared with Arjuna. The lower qualities leading to all desires, and the higher qualities leading to right action. Chapter 3 for the Healthcare Guru. What a fabulous chapter for us to be guided in our work. Let's start with remembering that, hopefully, you have considered your dharma and feel drawn to your work. To be working from a "I'm here because I have to be" is not a heartfelt place to begin. See if you are working too long, and for what purpose. Is it helping your work or taking away from it? Now let's look at knowledge and action. Most in this line of work professionally have taken several, maybe many, years to do this, and each person in healthcare professionally needs to take continuing education for keeping up with new knowledge that becomes available. Many people take such courses because they have to do so. They then promptly let their governing bodies know that the appropriate credits have been met through paperwork sent off at the right time to maintain practicing rights. In healthcare, most people are taught that the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects are contributing to health. Are you working from each of these for your clients or patients? How about for yourself? When you take the courses you are excited to learn about, do you apply the learning to your practice? Remembering that the Gita is explaining one man's spiritual evolution, we can come back to the individual practitioner in times of distress that may be open to learning about higher truths from a higher consciousness. If you have been drawn to this book, you may be ready. Now, this chapter brings to our awareness that many have read about the spiritual component to good health care, but many do not practice this area themselves. And if we are to be role models to our clients, this will be as important as each of us makes it in our own lives. Remember that the Gita does not push any specific religion, but does encourage self-reflection and introspection. Perhaps you are fearful of asking any faith-based questions to your clients because of legal restrictions, but nothing stops you from asking where your client is working from and listening to their response. Most practitioners do not make time for this as they believe this is work for a client's priest or minister, etc., or a family member or friend practicing their faith. In healthcare, we have moved away from talking about the subject and away from the basic intention to understand our clients to the fear of mixing religion into medical practice. Yet, we speak of working to heal the whole patient. If religion or spirituality has been lost in a patient, at least a suggestion for other resources can be made to overcome any doubt that this is important. Perhaps you would not like someone asking you this question, so you avoid asking your client. Perhaps they want to be asked kindly. You can check in on your own personal biases. Look at what inspires your actions. Do you take right action for your own personal benefit or for the benefit of your healthcare team? Is there referral outside of your team because your client needs the help that your clinic cannot even offer? Even if you could refer something to something from within your own clinic? Are you looking out for the client's needs or your health team's benefit? Even within the same team, many treat similar conditions and work with each client independently without making time to discuss client cases amongst the group. Of course, all could learn from client cases if ideas are shared. Many healthcare teams work in one larger setting, hospitals, care centers, or private clinics, while each member is still happily working independently. Most will share pleasant hellos and goodbyes with their team members, but do not spend time to truly connect with them. Reading this can be a time of reflection for a team to remind each member, or at least the founding members, for the reason the team came together. Many practitioners do try to create value for clients as well as themselves. Over time, the benefit for the client often becomes less of the focus, and benefit for the practitioner or practitioners becomes higher as new products, features, and services may be added. But only the team or individual practitioner will know whether this is for the benefit of greater profit for the healthcare providers or for greater benefit or healing of the clients. Perhaps one could justify that anything new is for the benefit of the client and that of the entire healthcare team, especially if financial gains are shared by team members. Still, see if the major benefit is for the client. Many practitioners are drawn into multi-level marketing products because of a financial benefit for themselves that brings in a pyramid scheme of multiplying profits. If this is the goal, no problem, if this is acceptable to your profession. If not, do question your motives and be reminded about the ethics behind the rules for ethical and professional conduct. Do accept and know that this human level experience plays within the world of duality, so profits made will eventually be lost too. This does not mean that a strong spiritual direction cannot simultaneously be happening and evolving too. Just understand your own motives and desires. Remember, right knowledge brings right action. Knowing the reason why we do what we do guides our actions. We can choose to be consciously aware of these reasons or remain in what may be called comfortable discomfort as we ride the waves of duality from one enjoyment to one disappointment unconsciously and repeatedly. A simple question here for any healthcare practitioner can be, do I make more effort to give more in the care of my clients, or am I taking more effort to get more from my clients? Only you will know your reason for why you do what you do. If you are part of a team, still allow each member to consciously and honestly respond to this question for self-reflection. Since this chapter discussed the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, this is a good time to see where most of your mind-body tendencies lie. Are you working from a busy energy, a lazy energy, or a satisfied and content energy? Many who are naturally busy or active need to be doing, planning, thinking, taking action. Those who are lazy may want to be more active, but will often not have the motivation or drive to do so. And those who are sattvic will be taking action, whether education, meditation, or even starting a new job, with some mindful deliberation and timely and discriminative decision making. This will direct the sattvic person or even a group led or influenced by a sattvic leader to non-ego based actions. Notice how your own mind and body behave. You will know which of these gunas you spend most of your time in. This chapter is to encourage conscious actions. Sometimes just a momentary pause will bring to light an insight that is not possible from a busy or a lazy perspective. These are the moments of connection with the self that can be trained through meditation or mindful practice and eventually can become a normal way of life for a sattvic person. In this chapter, do remember that the senses, the mind, and the intellect were described to be the reason behind any desire. As mentioned earlier, the ego identifying with the body enjoys sense experiences. Through the mind, it seeks emotional satisfactions, and through the intellect, it plans to relive the remembered experiences of the senses and mental joys. So let's look at a couple of common vasanas that many healthcare practitioners can fall into. Money. The body enjoys holding more and more cash in hand or seeing it with the eyes, greater bank balances. The mind enjoys the comfort of knowing there is enough to pay bills and enjoy entertainment, homes, cars, or meals that come from more money. And the intellect hopes it can create a larger working or personal space, get a new home or car, go on a bigger vacation. Next is prestige. The body feels respected by others, especially in places that one is well known. Team members and colleagues make our bodies feel important. The mind enjoys respect from one's own ego and others feeding it too in words and actions. This can come from clients or colleagues. And the intellect now enjoys feeling it is clearly doing and has clearly done past good work to get such prestige. Now, remember that there would be many factors like hard work, luck, help from the family or friends or networking, the right opportunities coming together, and finally, experiences for yourself and your clients that bring you the money or prestige you might enjoy. But a higher consciousness or God or source energy has been diligently working through each step too. And all human experiences have the duality nature. What is good today may not be good tomorrow. If money keeps flowing in, it's possible that bills do too. And prestige can be taken away in an instant by even a simple rumor. The wise mind knows this. This chapter is all about looking at one's actions with compassion and understanding for the human experience. As healthcare professionals, most would easily acknowledge that the work is to help clients. Yet many would also recognize that many healthcare providers may move into helping themselves more than helping their clients. The lines can get blurry sometimes because healthcare professionals may feel they are doing what they have always done. They may convince themselves that their practice needs every new feature or that new referrals are specifically to help their clients, and some are truly looking out for their clients' needs. Each practitioner would benefit themselves and their practice by understanding their own motives through self-reflection, with no judgment of the awareness that arises and with full acceptance of the awareness too. Any practitioner can move from lower tendencies to higher tendencies of practice with mindful attention to modify. This chapter helps to also introduce the ideas of vasanas, and this is a good time to consider one's own patterns or tendencies in action. These will likely present themselves both in professional practice and in personal relationships. If you have a tendency to give more of yourself through time, money, or care to others, this may be of benefit to others, but not for the higher self that knows it just has to be the best of itself. There is no need for trying to prove through any extra time or generosity that it is worthy. Seeking the sense of validation from others can also be a vasana. This vasana or tendency is as not healthy or useful as a controlling vasana. We can look at all vasanas from an ego-based understanding. Some vasanas make people feel better than others, and some make people feel less than others. This chapter is about pulling away from such dualistic thinking to give credit to the higher consciousness that allows all of it. This idea alone can help pull healthcare practitioners away from ego-centered tendencies to trust that their intentions can be consciously achieved with the full enjoyment of living in the uniquely powerful moment of now.